Good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of the Late Night Intercourse with Chioma. My name is Chioma ONYENUCHEYA-UKO, also known as the Zest Family Lawyer. My sincere apologies for starting behind schedule. I've been here ready, of course, for tonight's intercourse. Unfortunately, some technical issues again. But I'm sure that in little time, all of these things will smoothen out and we will no longer suffer these delays. This is only just the second episode of the series. So please bear with us. We'll continue to ensure that we smoothen things and we'll continue to running fast and easy. So thank you very much for joining me tonight. If you permit me, I'd like to allow for maybe and if you do, I'll deeply appreciate that you tell me that you're here, and that I'm not having this intercourse by myself. Comment please, whether you're joining us on Facebook, on YouTube. Unfortunately, we couldn't go live on Instagram tonight, but we'll continue to work on that. So whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, kindly help me share so that more people will join us. And please a comment, something to tell me that I am not by myself. I'll appreciate that. Something, anything. I'll be grateful to read something from you that tells me that I'm not by myself. A message, something in the chat box, whether on Facebook or on YouTube. I'll be most grateful if I read something from you. And please help me share. Oh, thank you very much, Michael. Thank you, Derry. Thank you. Thank you for confirming that you're here. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into it, and I trust others will join us as the night progresses. I hope you had a beautiful day. I hope, you're in great spirits and you're primed for a cozy night. Well, I had a good day too, and I trust the night will be beautiful too. And tonight, we're discussing one of the issues I encounter often with clients. One of the things I see that feature in many ways that may sometimes cause problems in marriages. And last episode, we actually started on this conversation topic. And tonight is just a continuation. And what we discussed and continue to discuss tonight is what I've called Sex in Marriage, 6 Legal Issues. So essentially, we're looking at some of the legal issues around sex in marriage. And I'm sure you will agree with me that sex is one of those critical things in a marriage. And in the last episode, the three things we discussed was lack of consummation. And that's because in law, it is agreed, it is recognized, it is provided that a marriage can actually be seen or to be believed to have broken down irretrievably if the couple do not consummate that marriage. So where there is no consummation in a marital union, it becomes an issue. So that's one of the issues around sex in marriage. And that's one of the things that can actually cause a marriage to break down. Mind you, I said lack of consummation. That's to say that the sex didn't even happen at all from the get-go. We discussed that last week. So if you missed last week's episode and you want to hear that conversation in full, you may go back to check. And the other thing we talked about was protracted deprivation of conjugal rights. And of course, conjugal rights include the right to sexual intimacy, of course, affection and the rest of them. So if for any reason that has been denied over a protracted period, it's also one of the issues that one may encounter around the subject of sex in a marriage. And the last point we took last week was intolerable adultery. I'd like you to note that we didn't just talk about adultery. We talked about intolerable adultery, because in law, it is not enough that adultery happened. It must be that it was intolerable to the offended party, to the offended spouse. Otherwise, it will not constitute a serious legal issue under Matrimonial Causes Act. So those were the 3 points we took last week. And tonight, in continuation of the 6 issues we promised around the subject of sex in marriage, we will be looking at, first of all, unnatural sexual orientation or indulgence. And before I dive fully into that, I would like to crave your indulgence. If you have any question or comment that you would like to ask or share in the course of this conversation, you may write that question or that comment in the comment section, and I promise to answer if it's a question or to, react if it's a comment. And if you'd rather just call instead of typing, you may actually call, and I'll take calls if I get one. Of course, only reasonable questions or contributions will be permitted via call. So if you do call and I take a call and I do not see that your question or your comment is reasonable or aligned with the ideals of this program, then I apologize ahead. I may have to terminate that call. And if you wish to call, the number to call will be 090 800 00 633. I'll take it again. 090 80 000 633. You may also check the screen. I'm sure the number will be scrolling somewhere there. And if you'd rather send a WhatsApp message, you may also send it on the same number. You can also send us an email at latenightintercourse@gmail.com. Unfortunately, I'll not be able to read mails in the course of this program. The best medium to reach me, if you want to ask a question or make a comment, will be the comment sections, whether on Facebook, on YouTube, a WhatsApp message on the published number, or a direct call, if that's your preference. And then I'll proceed. I was saying that the first point we'll be discussing tonight as one of the issues around sex in marriage is the subject of unnatural sexual orientation or indulgence. And by this, I mean those unnatural sexual acts which the law forbids and which a spouse in a marriage may find offensive, intolerable, unacceptable. And those may include things like bestiality. We've heard rumors, I'll call it that, since I don't know any case that I can cite. We've heard rumors of people who sleep with animals. That's bestiality. Of course, it's an unnatural sexual orientation, and the law forbids it. We hear of pedophiles, people who indulge in sleeping with little children. It's an unnatural sexual orientation. It's forbidden by law. Things like sodomy, where people of the same gender, have sexual intercourse, particularly, a man penetrating a man. So things like that are frowned at by the law. And where it arises within a marriage, it can actually occasion serious strain in that union and may actually lead to dissolution or the failure of that marriage. So it is something you need to watch it against, in the sense that even if there was such the likelihood of that kind of orientation or disposition to such indulgence, it must be that it is something one is certain is acceptable between the spouses. But even if that were to be the case, the mere fact that those acts are criminal acts means that it should not be encouraged and should not be practiced by any right-thinking person. So where it does happen, it can be a valid ground that a party in a marriage may use against the other, and the court will agree with that person that that marriage has failed or broken down irretrievably, as the law puts it. So it is one of the things that can cause real issues in a marriage. And the second thing that we have encountered a number of times as being a serious issue will now deal specifically on child sexual abuse or child pornography. Now, I'm not just talking about pornography. I'm not saying pornography is good, but I'm talking specifically now about child pornography or child sexual abuse. It is criminal. It is inexcusable under the law. The Child Rights Act forbids it, and even the Matrimonial Causes Act forbids those things and recognize them as some of those things that a spouse may plead to show that the other has behaved in such a manner that he or she cannot reasonably be expected to continue to live with him or her. So what it means is that the attempt to practice pedophilia, to practice sexual relationships with a child, or to watch pornographic materials that feature a child can be a valid reason that a spouse may use against the other. So it's one of those things that can cause issues around, in a marriage, around sex. Then the last thing I'd like to talk about is spousal rape or marital rape, whichever your preference is. Unfortunately, in our climb, a lot of people do not realize that it is offensive. It is perceived largely as, excusable behavior. There is argument, excuse me, there is an argument in some quarters that by the mere consent to be in a marriage, by having said yes to a man or a woman, and both parties come together in the marriage union, that it already expressly means that both parties are willing to continue to enjoy sexual relations with each other, excuse me, at either's instance. While that is not wrong and not, incorrect, such sexual relations must be in a manner that respects the dignity of the human person of the other party. It must be in such a manner that it does not occasion abuse or occasion some sort of violence against that other party. What's wrong? My apologies. So it must be that it continues to be consensual, not only at the time of the commencement of the marriage, my apologies, not only at the point of the, commencement of the marriage, but even as the marriage progresses, even as the parties continue to live together as man and wife. So what it means is, can I get a glass? What it means is that parties must continue to respect each other, honor each other, and protect each other. So in doing all of those, sexual intimacy will continue to be mutually consensual, such that both parties agree per time in indulging in whatever pleasures them. Unfortunately, sometimes you find that one foists intercourse on the other without realizing the damage it causes the person who is at the receiving end. And that is cruelty. And cruelty is one of the things a spouse can prove against the other as fact to show the court that the other has behaved in a manner that he or she finds intolerable. And, he or she cannot reasonably be expected to continue to live with him or her, with the other party. So what it means is that while our law does not expressly recognize spousal rape or marital rape, there is nowhere in the law that you will find that, designation of an offense. But interestingly, the Violence Against Persons Prohibitions Act, which is operative in the FCT and which has its variants across, most of the states, forbids any form of sexual intercourse that is forced, that is under duress, that is, obtained without free consent. So what it means is that it may actually make for some argument if a spouse comes up one day to say, I was raped by my spouse. So even if that by itself is not treated as a criminal offense, it is an act of cruelty, and it is an act that a party may plead as evidence of cruelty to show that the other party has behaved in a way that he cannot reasonably be expected to continue to live with him. I have spoken about 3 different manners of sexual issues that may arise in a marriage. And I do not know which of this any of you is willing to ask a question on. Thank you very much, Rahila, for joining me. Prato Eja, I see you. Thank you so much. Ogechiabu, thank you. I see that you're here. Catherine, nice to have you join us tonight. Ademe Sotosin Success, thank you very much to everyone who's joining me live tonight. I do not take it for granted. I appreciate it, and I would like to continue to enjoy this enlightening and engaging intercourse with you every Thursday at 10 p.m. So that brings us to the 6 legal issues that I would like for us to discuss around sex in marriages. Like I said to you earlier, in the last episode, we took 3 of those issues. And the 3 we took at the last episode were the issues of lack of consummation, protracted deprivation of conjugal rights, and intolerable adultery. Those were the 3 we discussed last week. And tonight, the 3 that I have discussed here are the issues of unnatural sexual orientation or indulgence, child sexual abuse or pornography, and of course the last being spousal or marital rape. For any of this, like I said, it may be a valid ground that a party may use against the other. Except for the first, which we discussed last week, being the lack of consummation, which is merely a civil fact, if I may put it that way. The rest of them, okay, the first and the second being the lack of consummation and protracted deprivation. Those are civil matters. They are not matters that, they do not amount to any criminal offense by themselves. But for the others, they are criminal offenses, and whoever alleges that must prove them substantially. They must be proven beyond reasonable doubt. So it is not enough to just allege that your partner practices unnatural, has unnatural sexual practices or preferences. It is not enough to allege that your partner or your spouse indulges in child pornography or, child molestations and the stuff, or to even allege marital rape. There has to be some sort of evidence to prove the allegations. Because unless those allegations are proven beyond reasonable doubt, the court will not be able to accept them as proof that your allegation is correct. But once proof is extracted and the court is satisfied that you have proven the allegations beyond reasonable doubt, they are valid grounds either to show desertion or to show that a party has behaved in a manner that the other cannot be reasonably expected to continue to live with him or her. So, I'm looking to see if I have a question from any of you. Thank you, Abonde Bolaji. Thank you very much. Thank you. I see you. I'd like to see if I have a question from anyone. If this is an intercourse, it means that it is between you and I. And that means that I can't just be the only one talking to you. I had said to you, you can ask me your questions on the comment section, or you can actually just make a contribution if you would rather. You may also call, and I'll be more than happy to take your call, answer your questions, or respond to your comments, whichever it is. I am checking to see if I have any questions. I am checking to see. I cannot see anything on Facebook. I'm checking to see for those who are joining us on YouTube. Thank you so much. I do not see a question there either. Okay. I had published a reminder earlier, and in that reminder, I had said that anybody who correctly answers my question will win him or herself a 5,000 Naira data subscription. So now I'll ask. And I think this may be a case of fastest finger now, because I know that I'm talking to bright people who would easily understand what I have said and who would easily answer this question. So maybe it's just be a case of fastest fingers now. Anybody who is able to just give me the 6 issues that I have discussed around sex in marriage wins my 5,000 Naira data subscription prize. So I'm looking to see who that is. The 6 issues, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, I'm looking at both platforms to see who wins my prize. I'm looking at both platforms to see who wins my prize. And while I'm waiting to read that, may I also invite you to freely send in whatever questions or whatever conversation topics you would rather I take on in subsequent episodes. My intention in this show is for us to have enlightening conversations around any issues within family relationships, whatever subject it is that falls within the family law spectrum. I'm happy and glad. I'm good. I would like for us to talk about it. If there's anything that disturbs you, anything you don't quite understand, anything you'd like for us to highlight, to talk about, please feel free. You may send it, send your suggestion by email at the late night intercourse at late night intercourse at gmail, or you may send it via the phone number that has been streaming across your screen. Whichever your preference is. I cite my second vice president of the NBA, my brother. Thank you very much for joining. I'm waiting to see who wins the prize tonight. I'm waiting to see who wins the prize tonight. I'm waiting to see who wins the prize tonight. The 6 issues. I'm looking to see who wins our prize tonight. Would you rather I keep this prize money to myself? I don't think that is right. I already made the promise, and I'm more than willing to fulfill it. So please, I want to see who wins the prize. Okay, if in another minute I do not see an answer to that question, it then means that I reserve my prize money, and then we go again at the next episode. Oh, thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you, my brother Clement Chukwemeka. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm looking to see who responds, who wins that prize. What are the 6 issues? Is that to say we didn't learn? We didn't take notes? That would be sad. This doesn't feel so much like an intercourse. It's supposed to be engaging between the both of us, you and I, I am not saying, oh, nobody wants to win this 5,000 subscription. Nobody wants to win it. And all it takes to win it is just to tell me what the 6 issues I have discussed are. Of course, 3 from the last episode, which I gave you a recap of here, and the 3 from this episode. Just the 6 of them. That's all it takes to win the 5,000 Naira data subscription prize. And I do not see that anybody has won that prize. It's unfortunate. So I keep the prize money, and then we'll go again next week. Well, it's been a pleasure, having this intercourse with you tonight. And again, I invite you to send me whatever questions or whatever topics you would rather we discuss in subsequent editions. And going forward, I will also bring in other people as may be possible or as may be necessary, depending on the topic and discussion. This will include, fellow lawyers who also understand the issues around the family law practice. And then, of course, maybe victims or persons with lived experiences, and persons who are authorities on other fields, depending on what subject we're discussing. It won't just be you and I every night. Sometimes it will be a party. We'll have other people join us. So, since I didn't get a winner for the prize at stake, I think this may be a good place to rest it for tonight so that you can snuggle into the arms of that loved one, or just have yourself a cozy night by yourself, depending on what your preference is. But of course, you know that at all times I am rooting for you, and I pray that your relationships thrive. I remain Chioma ONYENUCHEYA-UKO, your host, the Zest family lawyer. And it's been nice having you on tonight's episode of the Late Night Intercourse with Chioma. See you same time next week for another enlightening episode. We'll rest it here, and I wish you a very restful night. Bye-bye.